Hi, Care fans. Today we're going to read Fishing with Grandma by Susan Avinkak and Marlene Vesla, illustrated by Charlene Chua. I got this when I went to Churchill. It was really fun. Fishing with Grandma. Fishing with Grandma. As Gila and I ran up to Ananancia's house, we could see her through the frosty windows, sitting on the floor with a large sealskin on her lap. My sister and I were excited for a visit with our favorite elder, and we were hoping to convince her to take us on an adventure. Hello, kids! It is so nice to see you, Grandma said as we ran through the door. Hi, Ananancia, we said. The house smelled of fresh bannock, and we could hear upbeat fiddle music playing on the radio. Once inside, I grabbed some string that was lying on the coffee table, and me and Gila played string games as Grandma sewed. Ananancia, I said after a few minutes, we would love to go on an adventure with you today. That sounds like fun, Grandma replied. What were you thinking? I saw that Gila had made a fish with her string. How about jigging for fish? I suggested. Ati, let's go, Grandma cried. She was always happy to get outside and show us new things. And you're playing string games. There's Gila right there. She made a fish. Grandma told us what clothing and equipment we would need to bring in order to stay warm. She told me to layer my clothing so I would not sweat when I chipped the ice. In the fall, when the ice was just starting to form, it was thin and perfect for jigging. There's Cindy. Cindy's getting dressed. Gila and I ran home to pick up the clothes we would need for the day. A trip to the lake? A trip to the lake? Aren't you kids lucky? Mom exclaimed. Grandma prepared snacks and a thermos, and we all worked together to get the equipment loaded from the shed onto the ATV. We put on our helmets and set off. It was a crisp, sunny October day, and I was glad Grandma told us to bundle up. There were already some snow on the ground, enough for people to harness their sled dogs. In the distance, we could see some Inukjuks on the hills north of the community. We held on tight as we drove down the bumpy road, rounding many turns towards the frozen lake. As we approached the ice, I could see it was very smooth and flat. There were already people jigging all across the lake. Grandma parked the ATV on the shoreline. Gila hopped off and excitedly ran around in the snow. Grandma explained how to test the ice to make sure it was safe to walk on. She jabbed a long rod into the ice to see if it would break through. If the rod did not break because the ice, it was safe to walk on. We then took our gear onto the smooth, glassy surface. This will be a good spot, Grandma told us. Not too deep and not too shallow. I was perfectly sure my Announcia knew everything. This is a toque, Grandma explained, holding up a long wooden rod with a sharp chisel blade at the end. It is used to make a hole in the ice. Lift it up and thrust it into the ice, slowly chipping away the ice to make a hole. Grandma demonstrated a few times before handing the toque to me. I happily grabbed hold and started chipping. Wow, this is hard work, I said as I continued to work. Grandma scooped away the ice chips from the hole using an ice skimmer. After a few minutes, water suddenly came rushing up through the ice. "Allie night!" Grandma exclaimed. One hole done, 2 more to go. When the holes were finished, Grandma showed us how to prepare our fishing lines to jig. "The fish like flashy colors," said Grandma. "So we should always use brightly colored lures. My favorites are lures with red on them. The fish really like those." I decided to try a brilliant pink lure. "Uncoil your line into the hole," Grandma told us, "until it is just above the lake bottom, about 10 feet down." We followed Grandma's instructions, luring our lines into the water. We were finally ready to start jigging. "Just hold your jigging sticks and make small movements with your wrist," Grandma shouted from her hole. "Wow, I can see the bottom of the lake. I can even see some fish swimming by," I yelled back. From time to time, I would look up from my hole and listen to the sound of the lake. Ravens flew by calling, "Caw, caw." I could also hear skoodoos and ATVs in the distance. Every now and then I would hear excited voices shouting, "It's going to your hole," or "I got it." The ice was alive with wonderful sounds. After lying at my hole for a while, focusing on my line, I suddenly felt a small bite. "A fish! I got a fish!" I yelled. "Allie night!" Grandma called back excitedly. "Pull up the line as fast as you can so that you will hook it." Grandma came over to my hole and showed me how to bob the fish on the head to stop it from squirming. Gila eagerly watched. We continued to jig for the rest of the day, only taking a break to have some tea and some yummy bannock. We ended up catching a lot of Arctic char, far too much for our family to eat. What will we do with our catch, Ananancia? Sheila asked. There are many people who are not able to come out to the lake. We will deliver fish to them, she replied. It is always important to think of others. At the end of the day, when we came back in town, we made deliveries, stopping at the homes of many elders to share our fish. When we got back to Grandma's house, she fried up the remaining fish, and we had a delicious dinner with our parents. I felt so proud and also very tired from our great adventure with Grandma. Before we went home, Grandma gave us a big hug. It is important to learn traditional skills and to know how to be prepared, knowing what to bring, where to go, and what to do will help you always have successful trips, she said with a smile. I gave her a big squeeze and said, thank you for teaching us. I can't wait for our next adventure. What I've learned today from this book is that grandmas are really smart and it is important to learn traditional skills. Thank you everybody for watching my video. Like it, subscribe, and remember, be yourself and never change. Karebella out.